completely engage us?
We're live. Yeah.
We are live. Okay, good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, September 18th. This is our 10 a.m. regular Board of Commissioners meeting, and I will call the meeting to order. We need to establish a quorum. Commissioner Jacobson, Commissioner Hall, and myself constitutes a quorum. County Counsel Kristen Yule is with us today. Administrator Johnson is out on a family matter. Kenneth Lipp is our Public Information Officer. He's also navigating our virtual and presentation materials. And then Kathleen Kelly is with us, our recording secretary for the meeting. We have no recognitions or proclamations, and that moves us to the adoption of the consent calendar. These are routine items or have been previously discussed. Do either commissioners wish to highlight, poll, or discuss anything on the consent?
Mr. Chair, I would move for approval of the consent calendar as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. So that'll zip us on down to public hearing. And we have 24-25 supplemental budget hearing. Deanna Gravel is with us, and also I believe Renee. I don't know if she'll be coming up. So come on up, you two. Thank you. Good morning.
Hard budget analyst.
Will you make sure that your red lights are on? I'm like,
Thank you, Kenneth. It's good. Hi. Well, please
Okay.
begin.
All right, so last week we published several notices of supplemental budget hearings in the Lincoln County Leader, and copies of those notices are included in the agenda packet somewhere around page 305, 306. So Oregon budget law provides several legal ways to adopt a budget or to amend a budget after adoption. One of these is through a supplemental budget to create a new appropriation category. The public hearings today are to add the appropriation categories of capital to the HHS funds where they were not previously budgeted. The remaining adjustments involve items that have been approved by the board, and I've attached the corresponding board orders to the agenda packets. And those are the ones that were sent to finance. These comprise unforeseen grants that were unknown at the time of the regular budget, unforeseen conditions and or pressing necessity, and intra-fund appropriation transfers from one existing appropriation category to another, transferring less than 15% contingency. And a brief summary of all the adjustments are in your agenda packets, and we have requested that the department submitting the adjustments be present to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, appreciate that. Deanna, anything else from you?
Oh, she's got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions so far?
I don't have any questions. It was all in the packet.
No? Okay,
I don't either.
all right. Nor do I. Thank you. Council Yule, I know we've got this on discussion as well.
Did you open the public hearing?
Oh, gosh,
No,
I
I
didn't
don't
open the
think
public
you did.
hearing. So how do I do that correctly?
Open the public hearing.
Let's open the public hearing. Your comments aforementioned. Okay, so no comments from commissioners. Should we ask for public input in regard to
Public
this?
hearing, yeah.
Okay, so let's do that. Does anybody have any comments they wish to make in regard to this issue?
And that is the supplemental budget hearing.
Correct. Okay. Do we have any virtual guests who wish to comment on the supplemental budget hearing?
if you would like
Please.
to comment on the supplemental budget hearing, if you would please use the raise hand function.
Okay. All right, so I don't see anything there, nobody in the room. Okay, so I guess we will close the public hearing then. And any discussion? Doesn't look like there's any. Oh, you do?
I do not.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right, so thank you very much. I think we're done. And council, will just, I guess it got pulled from discussion, right? Okay, I see, I see. Monday, that was kind of confusing me. Okay, so let's entertain a motion, yeah.
Yeah. Given the routine nature of these adjustments, and the fact that we've all had the opportunity to review them, I would be comfortable moving forward with adoption today. So I move that we adopt the 24-25 supplemental budget changes as proposed.
And I'll second Commissioner Hall's motion.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. It is approved. No decision or action, and thank you so much for your time on this matter. We move to discussion and information, and we begin here with our update on broadband and rural prosperity. We've got Rachel Maddox Hughes, I believe, is with us virtually. I don't see her in the room.
Oh, there she is.
And we're gonna allow you to talk there. You kind of have to hit that button, Rachel.
Chair, if you give me just a minute, I'll get them promoted to panelists, and then I need to
Okay.
pull their presentation out of my email.
Okay.
Joe, is it also you that needs to be made a panelist? Is it Joe?
So stand by. We're moving you and shuffling you around here virtually. And we'll get you all set.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rachel. Joseph, are you in the loop yet?
Yes, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Cannot see you yet.
We cannot
Ken's
see you
still-
yet, but
Ken's
we
still
can
working on
hear
it.
both of you. Yes.
Oh,
Promoted to a
Well, we
panelist.
can see our videos.
Casey, the presentation is off of the clerk's screen for right now because I'm using my email to
Oh.
download the presentation. So
Okay. We'll just stand by for just one moment.
No
Certainly.
problem.
We have the blue screen of death here in the chambers. So, but I suspect
There we
we'll
go.
we'll get past that.
Ken can handle it. I have faith.
right.
Okay, so you can all see the PowerPoint you've provided us, I assume?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, well, great. Why don't you both introduce yourselves and then take it away?
Great. Well, commissioners, it's nice to see you all again. I'm Rachel Maddox Hughes. I'm the CEO of Rural Prosperity Partners. And my colleague Joe Furnell is also here today to give you guys an update on all things broadband and, excuse me, on the Broadband Action Team, the Lynn Benton Lincoln and Lane Broadband Action Team. First, I just want to say to everyone that, one of the Lynn Benton Lincoln Broadband Action Team, or the LBLL BAT as we call it, was one of the first in the state. It was the foresight of Lincoln County's elected officials and other stakeholders who really were looking at building back better after COVID, and really saw that broadband was going to be one of those critical issues. And you guys moved forward before a lot of other folks in the state. The Lynn Benton Lincoln and Lane Broadband Action Team remains one of the strongest in the state and the longest running. And that you guys have secured funding through EDA to continue broadband work in our 4-county region. And I just want to remind everyone what the purpose is of our broadband action teams. And it really did come out of COVID and recognizing that the challenges of COVID in accessing education, health, socializing, all of that sort of stuff was compounded for rural areas in particular that didn't have good access, and that everybody needed to get on board, public, private, and nonprofit stakeholders, to really make all of this happen. So broadband action teams really are there to provide the region with a liaison to state and federal offices, to provide feedback from our rural areas and to the state and feds, to make sure that the Lynn, Benton, and Lincoln and Lane area concerns are heard and incorporated into policy and programs at the state level in particular. It's to connect partners, so internet service providers, cities, counties, and others to coordinate on projects and to help secure funding. So that is the point of the broadband action teams. And as Joe will cover here in a little bit, there's about almost $1 billion in broadband funding available to the state. However, and I'm going to apologize, I have work being done in my house right now in the background. So Joe, I think I might just hand this over to you. We have contractors here. I do apologize, but it is an ever-changing funding environment and at both the state and federal level. Joe.
Great. Thanks. Hi, I'm Joe Furnell. I'm the Director of Broadband and Business Advisor to Rural Prosperity Partners. And those of you who know me know that I've been around the state a long time, former longtime chair of the Oregon Broadband Advisory Council. Have been involved in rural broadband here in Oregon for longer than I'd like to admit. And I echo Rachel's comments. Chair Miller and Vice Chair Hall, I'm glad to be here, and the LBL LBAT has been fantastic to work with. It's one of the things I actually really look forward to doing every month is working with the broadband action team there in that 4-county region. And so I know we've got limited time, and there's a ton of information, and it is ever changing. So it seems like daily we've got new updates on the broadband front here in Oregon. So I'm going to go through some of this pretty quickly. If there are questions, certainly interrupt me and ask, and I'd be happy to answer any of them to the best of my ability. I will have some time at the end, hopefully left over for questions as well. So this will, I think, bring us up to date on where things are with broadband in Oregon, so and in Lincoln County specifically. So next slide, please.
Joseph, just before you proceed, I
Yes.
want you and Rachel to be aware that Paul Skydema is in the audience as well from the Economic Development Alliance. So he's here too. Just wanted you to know.
He warned me he was going to be there, so I'm
Okay.
not surprised. I'm glad he's there in person. Paul has been a fabulous broadband champion and great advocate for Lincoln County, and so you guys are lucky to have him. And that's an unpaid endorsement. I think, Paul, maybe you will owe me lunch later, but thank you for letting me know, Chair Miller. All right, next slide, please. Can you get me there, Ken? It should be there.
You are on the second slide. I've proceeded 2 slides. Would you still like to be on?
Oh, I'm still seeing the very first slide. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we're both seeing the first slide still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
We've had that.
So I can go, if you're seeing the second slide, that's the important thing. So I can go ahead and brief from that.
Do we need more bandwidth? Is that what's happening?
Maybe. Maybe. So the first.
Joe, give me just 1 second. I'm going to try to correct that problem.
Sure, not a problem.
Participants can now see your application.
Yeah, I can see, we're back on slide 1, so I can see that. So if we can move to slide 2.
We are on slide 2.
All right, I'll just tell you that's the slide number, and then and I've got it up on my screen as well, so I can refer to that. So the first group of money was called the Broadband Technical Assistance Program, or BTAP, and that was not for infrastructure. So that was that money was specifically designed to provide for technical assistance for jurisdictions in Oregon to prepare for broadband funding and pull together. Oh, and there we go. I can actually see it now. Awesome. So you can see there were 27 complete applications for 33 counties and 2 tribes. And it was wildly oversubscribed, about 3 times oversubscribed. So there was a demand of $4.4 million and they only had allocated 1.5 million. So unfortunately, the funding that Lincoln, Lynn, and Benton counties applied for was not awarded. And so there were additional funds available in the broadband fund. And so there were many groups advocating for additional funding for broadband technical assistance. And we thought that that was going to go through the e-board and be on their agenda. And at the last minute, it fell off their agenda. We don't know why. And so even though there was additional money in the broadband fund at the state level for technical assistance, they did not allocate any more at the legislature. And so unfortunately, we're unable to secure more funding for the three county region. Lane did their own application, and they were not successful as well. So that left us. We were a bit surprised by that, but that's where we are on BTAP. Next slide, please. Slide 3. So the first big infrastructure program is the broadband deployment program, and these are ARPA dollars. So this is where the money came from for BDP, the broadband deployment program. The application window was only a month long, which was really surprising to folks because pulling together full engineering plans and costing and everything for an application for infrastructure in 30 days is a bit of a heavy lift, but there were a lot of applications for BDP. I actually pulled out the Lincoln County map on the state BDP map. Sorry about that. And you can see the purple dots, and I don't know how big it is there in the commission room, commission hall, but you can see those are the areas that were applied for. So there were 2 applications in Lincoln County. The Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians filed for an application to serve 85 locations. You can see that kind of up in the north. And then Pioneer Telephone Cooperative, in partnership with the Oregon Cascades West Council of Governments, filed a regional application to pay for the completion of fiber to the home to 1,198 locations in multiple distinct areas. You can see that those different groupings of purple dots. So there was a challenge window where people could say, oh, wait a minute, that's already served. You shouldn't fund that. And that window closed on July 15th. So we had originally hoped that the award contracts would be finalized by October. I'm hearing rumor, I haven't heard anything official, that may slip to November. That's substantive because since these are ARPA dollars, the awardees have to complete all of the construction and all of the award has to be distributed by December 31st of 2026. So the clock is already ticking on these ARPA dollars, and compressing a construction window much past 2 years with permitting issues that might arise could be problematic. So we're really hoping that the broadband office is going to be able to get the awards announced and contracts finalized in October, November. So that's pending. That's really close. And that would be the first big infrastructure fund that we'll see awards from in Oregon. So next slide, please. The big one, $688 million is the BEAD program. This is coming out of, and this is the one everybody's been talking about. It's coming out of the big infrastructure fund, the Infrastructure Act from year and a half ago at the federal level. So that money is being managed by the NTIA, which is the executive branch's arm for telecommunications. But they're allowing states, so the NTIA has provided guardrails. They've said, okay, here are your parameters, and then you need to pull together rules and a plan. And the rules would be in 2 volumes. Volume 1 being how the challenge process is administered. Volume 2 being how the grant awards are going to be distributed, and the grant monies are going to be administered. So proposal volume 1 was was approved early on. And then we actually in June got volume 2 approved. So we were 10th in the nation on volume 2. So we have both volumes of rules approved through the NTIA. And why we had to have that approved is the NTIA said within these guardrails, you can make things more restrictive, or you have choices as a state about how you're going to administer this, or what geographical size you're going to go after for minimum size for bead. So all of that had to be finalized and then approved by the NTIA. So the state is now on track to begin pre-qualifying applicants or possible applicants for bead. So the pre-qualification window, and it's like a grant application itself. I mean, there's a whole checklist of things that you have to do to pre-qualify for bead. That website is all up and presented, and there are different checklists for internet service providers and for jurisdictions. So why might a jurisdiction want to pre-qualify? So the only people who later can participate at any level in funding are those entities that pre-qualify during this pre-qualification phase that probably will open within the next several weeks. And it'll be open for 30 days. So say in Lincoln County, you don't have any ISP, which is unlikely because you've got some really active ISPs in your county, but say none of them are going to go after BEAD funding. And so you have to pull together a coalition of ISPs, recruit ISPs, and maybe take the lead. So you wouldn't be the people building it necessarily. You wouldn't be the internet service provider necessarily, although you could. You might want the option as a county to pre-qualify so that you can be a lead applicant for a consortium of ISPs. Another interesting thing is we expect there to be multiple rounds of funding, and I'm moving kind of fast because I know, I was given like 20 minutes. I would go, oh, I could talk for 3 hours on this. So you guys have to slow me down if I get moving too fast. We expect there to be multiple rounds of awards for BEAD. And why that is in the first round, so BEAD is a mandate to serve every unserved and underserved location in Oregon with at least 100 by 20. So it's a mandate. So it's not, you can't get a 90% solution. The state has to solve for all of that before they get the funds, right? So in round one, we expect that there are going to be parts of Oregon that no one applies for. Then there will be a round 2 that will spark a round 2 where the broadband office then can come out and negotiate with ISP, anyone who's pre-qualified, an ISP or a jurisdiction, to solve for that area that nobody applied for. And so there could be 2 or 3 rounds of BEAD, and the rules might change a bit as they negotiate in subsequent rounds. So you might want to be a part of that discussion.
So Joseph,
Yes.
to that point you just made, there's a mandate to serve. It has to be 100%, but there's kind of a workaround then, because that's very aggressive, right? I mean, getting to 100% sounds really difficult.
Yeah. I mean, and Lincoln County has some terrain issues and, density of trees and that kind of thing that we'll have to overcome. But you think about Harney County, which is larger than 6 states, U.S. states, and it's got less than 7,500 people. How do you solve for those distance and density and terrain issues in Harney? So I suspect it's going to be a bit of a challenge. Now, the NTIA had just closed public comment on some proposed rules that will allow for unlicensed fixed wireless and low Earth orbit satellites as part of a solution. So not the primary. You couldn't come in and say, we're just going to serve everybody with Starlink, give us money. They want fiber as far as they can go, and they're going to set a high cost limit, a threshold where they say, we'll fund fiber up to $10,000 or 15 or 18,000, whatever the number ends up being. They still haven't determined that number yet. Build costs per passing per household. They want to fund fiber, and we want them to fund fiber because fiber is the most scalable, future-proof technology we've got. But we know that that's not going to solve for everybody. You think about the broadband serviceable location that happens to be, so it's one of the ones that's on the mandated list from the FCC and the NTIA, but it's only occupied, part of the year. Maybe it's a summer cabin, a vacation cabin. We have to solve for that because it's on the list. It's one of the broadband serviceable locations. So it probably doesn't make sense to build fiber, up a remote cabin, up a remote canyon to that cabin. So they're gonna cut that off and say there are alternative technologies, and we're not real sure yet how that's all going to shake out. But
Joseph, it
yeah.
sounds like, is that new that things like Starlink are allowed now, possibly, whereas previously they were not?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, that is correct. And I had a long conversation with Starlink's director of governmental affairs a week and a half ago in DC. I didn't go to DC, although I have been there. And she said that they were in active discussions. She didn't use the word negotiations, but active discussions with the NTIA about Starlink's and low Earth orbit satellites' role in the BEAD challenge of trying to solve for every location. So I'm 99% sure that Starlink and any other LEO company that comes around is going to ultimately end up being part of that. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Yep. Nope. Keep it going. You're doing
All
fine.
right, next slide. All right. Digital equity. Now, this is the thing that, infrastructure is great, but if we don't give people the skills, so equity is about digital skills, affordability, making sure that everybody has the opportunity to leverage this fantastic tool that we're going to put out there. And so the equity plan is the part, I think that's where the rubber meets the road, digital equity. Is the skills, affordability, making sure everybody gets connected. It has the ability to do telehealth, telemedicine, distance education, e-commerce, attend meetings like this virtually, which is e-government, all of those things. So it's not just Netflix. It's all of those cool things, work from home. And so that's the equity piece of it. And so there is funding once we get the infrastructure built to start working on, and the state already is working on what that digital equity plan is going to look like. And of note, we took a survey and had conversations with members of the broadband action team about what next year might look like, assuming the counties decide to continue with the work that we're doing. And one of the strongest things most common things that people said that they wanted to focus on was a digital equity discussions, and perhaps building a digital equity plan for each county or for the 4-county region. And so there is money out there. You can see Oregon's initial allotment of 9.9 million has already been announced. And we expect that over the next 2 years, we don't know how it will be allocated, but there's another 7 million coming for digital equity work to the state over the next 2 years. It could be 3.5 next year and 3.5 the following year, or it could be 7 next year. We don't know yet. But next slide. So, speaking of affordability, the affordable connectivity plan, which was a subsidy that came out of COVID. So there was the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program during COVID. And then the Affordable Connectivity Plan replaced that as what was thought to be the beginning of a permanent subsidy for low-income households for broadband. And it provided $30 for households outside of tribal areas and $75 for households on were on tribal lands per month. There was a one-time subsidy for devices. So, whether that was a Chromebook or something that allowed you then to connect, there was a one-time subsidy. Oregon households, there were almost 250,000 Oregon households that were making use of this who lost the subsidy when the ACP was no longer funded by Congress. And it's the oddest thing because there was wide bipartisan support for refunding the ACP, but for whatever reason, politically, they just never got it done. So, State Representative Pam Marsh from Southern Oregon has convened a broadband affordability work group, which we're on our third, or I think yesterday was our third meeting on the broadband affordability work group. And there were invited participants from around the state. I'm one of those. And then they opened it up to the public as well who wanted to be a part of this. And we've been looking at ways to perhaps leverage the state, Oregon's broadband fund, and the fees that we apply to telephone and cell phones to perhaps remodel that and move it away from a voice-centric program to more of a broadband-centric program. And so we're looking at that. And then Florida actually came up, and they've already enacted this, where they have a fee associated with entities, and I'm trying to come up with the right word without getting myself in trouble, entities that ride on the internet networks for free and make money on, and streaming companies like Netflix and Hulu would be on that list. They would actually have to pay a fee because right now they're making use of these highways, the digital highways, for free. They're not paying road taxes. They're not paying, to upkeep. They're not paying anything. They're just making money off of that. So Florida has started applying a fee, and they're using that fee for their version of an affordable connectivity plan. So we're looking at how we might mirror something like that to provide some kind of relief for low-income families who need to stay connected for their kids' sake, for their ability to work, for all of the reasons we know. So next slide, please. The Oregon Broadband Equity Coalition is one of the efforts at the state, and it's an Oregon. It's not managed by the state of Oregon, but it's a state level coalition that was founded about a year ago and officially launched on February 22nd. And it founded by Rural Prosperity Partners, Link Oregon, and Oregon State University Extension Office to start the discussion and begin educating people on the equity challenge for broadband in the state. And that coalition is going strong. It's open to anyone who wants to participate. So if you are passionate about digital equity, this is the place to connect. And I've got the link in the slide deck so you can see that. Meets monthly. And so there is grassroots equity work that is going on. Next slide, please. I think I'm over time, but we're getting close. All right. This is a slide of the time frame, and I can't point, but in that next to the bottom row where it says community engagement, there's challenge process and subgrantee selection. We're right in the middle of that. So right between the challenge, there you go. Perfect. Thank you, sir. We're right there. So the challenge process is done, and we're waiting to start the subgrantee selection process, which starts with that pre-qualification. So pre-qualification will happen, and then we expect sometime end of the year, first of next year, first quarter, then we'll actually start seeing the application window open and them selecting sub-grantees. And it's a sub-grantee because the state is the grantee from the federal government, and then the state is sub-granting to applicants here in Oregon. So anywhere you see sub-grantee, you can just say applicant, whether it's a jurisdiction or an ISP. All right, next slide, please. And Ken, you're doing great. You're just amazing. Thank you. Give that man a raise. All right. So what's next? We talked about BEAD round 1, multiple rounds of BEAD. We expect that, and this is their time frame, not mine. So fourth quarter 24, first quarter 25 is what they're targeting. And then after that, they'll move into subsequent rounds, which is what we expect. And we haven't even talked about other funding. There's the USDA does Community Connect and Reconnect every year. And I know there were multiple applications for Reconnect Round 5 in Oregon, and we're expecting to hear about those probably in October, maybe November, about the same time we hear on BDP. We're going to hear on the results of Reconnect Round 5. We're expecting a Reconnect Round 6 next year, and so we'll be watching that. And then hot topics, we talked about digital equity, affordability, digital skills, hot topics for next year. And then just of note, so that you guys don't lose sight of it, our contract with the 4-county region ends at the end of this year, and there's still a lot of work to do, and we really would love to be a part of that. So next slide, please. There we go. We made it to questions. Any questions from the Board of Commissioners or anybody else that you want to open it up to?
Thank you, Joseph. Come forward, Paul, please. So Joseph, let's see if before we get into questions, Paul Skidema has anything to add.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a couple comments. It's always great to hear Joe's masterful handling of all things broadband and makes my brain explode. Just a couple of things. First, I would say that the Broadband Action Team is absolutely a valuable resource and it covers the same areas our Economic Development District. It's absolutely vital, and Joe and Rural Prosperity Partners have been doing a great job with that. They are trusted and honest, and they have the connections to get folks in that meeting, which is cool. On the BEAD, just a couple quick things. One thing that's weird and odd about round 1 is that the applications have to cover an entire school district in a whole chunk, which gets very challenging in Lincoln County. And I've got a meeting with Jim Renard from Pioneer Reconnect this afternoon on BEAD and pre-qualification and what the engagement of the school district needs to be. So I will come back with some more local info. And I guess I would just say the last thing to my last thing to think about is when you think about the infrastructure, it's primarily right now in Lincoln County dealing with unincorporated areas of the county, because that's where the connectivity isn't. When you get to digital equity, that's primarily going to be happening in the population centers, because that's where folks need the most help, where there's access already, but they might not have the funding for the equipment, the funding for the subsidies, things like that. So most of the work on infrastructure has been happening in rural areas, but this is going to move more towards municipal areas. And just one thing to think about, and then I'll shut up, is I love the whole idea of a digital equity plan for the region. And it might be interesting to think about, because the Cascades West Economic Development District, the same 4-county regions, has just launched its comprehensive economic development strategy update process. Maybe that could become at a high level part of that work. So that's all I've got to say.
And Paul, to what you just said, though, that equity is important even in the unincorporated areas too.
Yes,
Not
yes.
that's.
But right now, really, municipal areas have been kind of kept out of the conversation because they already have the wires there.
Yeah.
But it's going to be everywhere.
Gotcha. Well, I think you should stay there. Commissioners, where would you like to begin with any questions? I know I have some, but Commissioner
Several
Jacobson.
questions. I'll let Commissioner
I'll
Hall start.
pass.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead.
First thing I just wanted to say is it's really nice to see this kind of coming together. It was Commissioner Hunt maybe 5 years ago, did a series of kind of gatherings to ask community members about how we should prioritize economic development dollars and efforts. The three things that came out were childcare, housing, and broadband. We've definitely done a lot of work on childcare. We've had childcare grants that just ended here last month. We've gotten childcare provider trainings up at the community college. So lots of effort there, lots of effort on housing. And this was kind of like the last piece of trying to get that vision more realized. So I'm glad this is coming. Let's see, let me go through my notes here. Couple questions. Commissioner Miller, you've kind of been our representative on the broadband action team, I think, since you've been a commissioner. In terms of sort of getting ready for this BEAD funding, which I know has been much anticipated for like years, is there an application kind of like ready to go for Lincoln County? Maybe this is a Paul question too. You know, are we ready? I guess is really the question.
And I guess I would say from my vantage point, we're exploring, can we be ready?
Okay.
Because and part of my meeting with Pioneer Reconnect or Pioneer this afternoon is to kind of understand the interplay that we have to have with multiple ISPs, the school district, sign-offs with governmental units, all of that stuff that needs to be in place to see if you can actually do an application and and Joe, you may have a better answer than myself, but that's, we're trying to see if that could work in phase one locally here.
So yeah, thanks. And I do. And so that's a great answer. And I think that represents well where we are. I think it's worth mentioning that Lincoln County actually has some pretty significant leverage in those discussions, and the Economic Development District, in those discussions with ISPs to make sure that your interests as a county are being met and being addressed. And when I say you have significant leverage, an application will not be considered unless it has at least 50% letters of support from 50% or greater of all of the governmental entities within that application area, that school district area. And so people are going to need letters of support for their applications from Lincoln County. And so and not to hold that hot, because you really do have great partners in Lincoln County on the ISP side who are doing fantastic work. And I can't say that all across the state, but you really do. And but in those discussions, just be aware they need you as much as you need them. So this is, the broadband office has set up this symbiotic relationship that is really healthy, where, if it's worked out right, where both parties, the governmental entity and the ISP have to work together to make this work.
And one other quick just addition to that, through the Economic Development District, which is made up of Lane COG, Council of Governments, and Cascades West COG, we've been having conversations at the COG level of helping to sort of herd the cats for those letters of support for any applications anywhere in the Economic Development District.
Okay. Did that help?
Yeah, a couple more. I'll keep going here.
Yeah.
One is just for points of reference here. Ken is usually our letters of support wrangler from the county. So as we move forward, he's the one that you can coordinate with on getting that from us. Another question I had is it was talking about the money flowing from the federal government to the state and then through a sub-grantee program and that grant process. I'm assuming that's open to local governments, tribes, nonprofits. Can nonprofits apply?
Actually, anyone can apply.
Anyone, and my next question was, which I think you answered, was internet providers or broadband providers themselves. Can they apply?
Yes.
They-
I
they-
think you're talking about the BEAD funding.
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobson, yes. So anyone can apply. You're going to see mostly internet service providers as the applicants.
Mhm.
However, because of the challenges around the school district and all sorts of other different rules and regulations, there are a handful of jurisdictions who are actually going through the pre-qualification stage themselves so that they can coordinate a larger regional application. And that includes Lane County, I believe, is taking the lead on that. And then we also have Harney County as well. who is making headway in that direction. The pre-application process is fairly arduous, and it's underway now.
Okay, thank you. The last thing I was just going to say is sort of the note about the, actually I have two more things to say. Sorry, the contract with us for doing our BAT. We were previously using American Rescue Plan Act funds for that contract, which you can use for broadband activities, so it fit well. That contract is just about spent out, so I would maybe suggest that in our regular budget process in the spring, as we, deal with our budget every year, that's where we maybe have that conversation about continue supporting that, unless there's maybe other, grant opportunities that come up between now and then to support that. But I think we should remember to have that discussion during our budget process. And lastly, I was just going to say something that our Public Works Director told me, who I think is sitting back there, I see him, that here in the last several months, we've had like 22 or 24 applications for use of our right-of-ways for broadband works.
We received 40
I was off.
applications in one day.
Yeah,
Wow.
for broadband work. So even without the BEAD funding, there's, broadband stuff is happening. Thanks, Michael. That's it.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Jacobson. Commissioner Hall, you still, did anything come up?
No, just a lot of good information
Mm.
to absorb, and I'm pleased that these opportunities are opening up.
Okay, thank
Um,
you.
If I may, just to your last comment, Commissioner Jacobson, in terms of public works, that is, one area that jurisdictions can look at is their permitting rules and regulations. And in what ways, so once funding comes in, or once there's an ISB who wants to build out, how can we speed up and streamline infrastructure implementation? So that is also a conversation that we'd be happy to have with your Public Works Department as well.
Hey, thanks,
Okay.
Rachel.
Yeah, thanks for that. Well, Commissioner Jacobson, I really do think that you would be better suited to managing the broadband activity than myself. I think she has a forte for such things. Appreciate the high level overview. It has regularly made my mind explode when I try and wrap my head around it on numerous occasions. And, that's why I feel really confident. We have Paul and Rachel, all of you working on this. So I guess I just have a real practical question, which is there anything we're not doing we need to be doing? And what is that? Not that you need to comprehensively tell us today, but please keep those lines of communication open with us so that we are moving in unison with the mission. So anything stand out that we could be doing that we're not? Any recommendations? So
One thing, I don't know if it's necessarily a recommendation, and maybe Joe and Rachel, you might have some comments on this, but since we do work with the BAT and we see sort of like what Lane County is doing, and that's a huge county that has a lot of resources and population centers, but they have multiple full-time staff that aren't IT staff, which is different. That's like operating systems and cybersecurity and email, but they have broadband staff. So they can do things like challenge process, GIS mapping within that. And I know we're kind of frustrated locally because we don't have we can do some assistance work. We don't have the technical stuff to do the GIS work in partnership with the county yet. The county doesn't have that. Just a thing to think about as we start to evaluate the priorities and the type of money we could come bring in. We might not need that. But that is something that is would be a nice little Christmas present under a tree in Lincoln County.
So, Paul, essentially GIS capability?
Well, no, just someone who is a broadband generalist, basically cloning Joe in a vat and having his head next to a computer for us to be able to have that as a staff member. That's really what we need.
Well, I wish we could use a 3D printer or something for that, but it's probably not that simple. Okay, well,
sign up.
yes, right. Well, be sure to, articulate that as we move forward and where you see even we can, help assist with that. Anything else on your mind? I know you're taking good care of us, but.
Well, there's great conversation happening in the entire broadband action team, and there's lots of things going, and it's not like we don't know who to talk to. And Broadband Action Team and through Joe and Rachel's work, I mean, there's folks from the Oregon Broadband Office on those calls. There's multiple ISPs on those calls. And it's a place, a safe space to have conversations, ask questions, and learn best practices. So I think we're doing a lot right.
Okay. Well, thank you, Paul. Rachel, Joe, any thoughts in closing or?
No, I think you guys have a very strong broadband action team, and I look forward to what the next couple of years brings with digital equity and actually getting the dollars in the door into the region.
Yeah. Yeah. And Rachel, to Commissioner Jacobs' point, let's make sure that we're coordinating, especially on our budgetary calendars for anything that you might see. Knowing, in advance as much as possible is very helpful to us if there's any financial needs, in the future. So, but everyone appreciate your time. Commissioner Jacobson, you good?
I'm good.
Okay,
Thanks.
Commissioner Hall. All right. Paul,
very
thank
much.
you. Again, thank you for making this presentation for us today and appreciate your time on this.
Glad to be here.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
You too.
Okay, so let's move on to our next item under discussion and information. And
Mr. Chair, could I request like a 3-minute break? I'm sorry.
yeah, absolutely. Let's take a 3-minute recess and Douglas Ooh,
That's my fault.
thanks, Jaylene.
Jaylene,
Appreciate that.
Start over? No. So anyways, there may be a pushback there, but I still think we need to comply with the timeline that we're given at this point.
Right.
And
Well,
it-
there's a pushback by the congressional delegation, by the state legislature, by various big counties are all pushing back on the timeline. Portland actually started on theirs. They started a 5-year implementation plan. They saw this coming, but they thought that they wouldn't have to implement it till 2027. And all of a sudden, no, it's this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so they're kind of surprised by that, but they have their own plan and their own issues. But the countervailing pressure is that there's a new federal lawsuit against FEMA, basically telling them or alleging that they've not implemented this stuff fast enough. So who wins? It might be a federal
Yeah.
judge.
yeah, it might be the pushback that'll be
Mr.
helpful.
Chair.
Yeah.
All interesting to know. I'd encourage anybody who's interested in learning more about this to go back, and I believe we did video record and live stream the workshop meeting.
Yes, Commissioner Hall, you can find that on the agendas and minutes page on the website. It's September 10th.
Mhm. So basically, we're in a position, FEMA is calling the shots. Staff is doing the preliminary work. We'll keep advocating for more reasonableness in a timeline, more flexibility, but I think it's incumbent on us to direct the staff to continue moving forward on this work.
Assistant County Counsel, did you need direction from the board today on which option we wanted to adopt? Is that?
No,
No, okay.
no, I don't think so.
Okay.
Not today.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we do have consensus.
Okay.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Keep
Thank
it
you,
working.
Mr. Holbrook.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to reports. Commissioner reports, Commissioner Hall.
I'll
anything
pass
from you
today.
And Commissioner Jacobson.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I should have done this in our first meeting in September, but I just wanted to remind everybody that this month, September, marks the 4-year anniversary of the Echo Mountain Complex fire, in which 300 homes were destroyed in Lincoln County and lots of lives upheavaled in that process. And I did do a kind of pretty in-depth recovery report not too long ago. It's still on our website, but just wanted to remind people, especially with the big audience we have today, that recovery efforts are still ongoing. Long-term recovery takes typically 5 to 10 years for long-term recovery. We still have many properties and families that are not yet recovered. We also still have resources. So we still have a wildfire housing neighbor, Gabby Santos, who works for the county, that can help families get into permanent housing. There still is open applications for the HOP and HARP funding, which is for home replacement if you lost your home. And I also just want to remind everybody that, September can be a really trauma-producing month for a lot of our citizens that went through that, even if you didn't lose your home and you had to evacuate and go through that process. So just kind of a reminder to remember that there's still a lot of people recovering, and just, have kindness this month and always, especially with that population. Thanks.
Okay, and well, I would just report for one thing that appreciate you attending AOC District 7 meeting on Monday. And then also you jumped in for maybe introductions at OPRD this morning.
I did give a welcome to the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department commission meeting this morning. Barely made it back in time to our meeting, but didn't make it in time, and just welcomed them to our county and told them thank you for the great staff they have here that works with us. So.
Great. Well, thank you for doing that. Okay, well, I guess it's to me for my commissioner's reports. So I want you to understand that I have a lengthy report today. I am going to read my report, and I ask for your patience. I was going to suggest maybe that we, everyone take a break if they needed to before I get started, because it's going to take me a little while to plow through this. But that I will begin, and I'm going to read this in full. So buckle your seatbelts and hang on. I work on many issues of concern as a county commissioner. Every day and every week are new challenges, opportunities, and activity. I'm reporting on just a few of those items today. While this report from me might seem extensive, there are many other matters which I and all of us review. And in my past reports, I feel that I've not really been articulate enough in my presentation. So today I wanted to be very clear and deliberate, because not only are these important issues, but in an effort to do the work and do the quality work I know I want to do, and that the community be aware of my activity, I also want you to weigh in on the activity that I'm engaging in. I ask for your patience again to hear me out. I've got copies for you. I've got copies for Kathleen. I'd like my report to be submitted in the public record as I've read it today and as it's printed before me. I would generally classify the topic categories today as systemic management, public records and meeting laws, service programs, and communication. I'm going to be proposing some questions to staff and commission. I really do believe that I and the community deserve answers to those questions. And I've highlighted them in yellow. I also want to recognize that these are my truths and my analysis. You may not be comfortable answering my questions today, and I'll understand if you need time to respond. This is a lengthy report, and this is the first time maybe you've considered these points of view that I am proposing. I feel it's important for me to emphasize that I'm trying to seek the truth. It's not necessary that I be right. It's okay in my mind for you to disagree with me. The beauty of having three commissioners is there is strength in our collective governing body. I don't need to be left alone to govern, and more than often, I desire your perspectives and wisdom. I think you'll see that there's an overarching theme today in my report, and one of them is that we conduct as much of our decision-making process as possible in the public meeting context. I believe that there are three commissioners elected very explicitly for a reason. We are here to utilize the totality of our governance. We three commissioners have been elected by our community to make decisions on their behalf. Public records and meeting laws are created to protect us so that we are not excluded from the governance process, so that the community is ensured that the entirety of the governing body is utilized for their benefit. Sometimes in my discussions with community members, they are surprised to learn that public records and meeting laws do not allow me to make decisions or have substantive conversations with my fellow commissioners. It is indeed very difficult sometimes to refrain from a very human tendency to talk or communicate naturally with other humans, including my cohorts. Nevertheless, that is the law, and I take it very seriously. Transparency. I want to add that my wife said to me the other day, and I quote her, "Casey, not everyone is comfortable being vulnerable as you are. It's not easy for everyone to share themselves." It's not my preference today to make you all intentionally uncomfortable and vulnerable with the information I'm presenting and the questions that I seek answers to. It's not easy for me to question your decisions. I hope you will respect my process, and please understand that I am trying to do my best as an elected official to seek clarity so that I can do the best work possible and make the most informed decisions that I can. I value good and open communication and do have a high expectation that you and our staff present myself and our entire board with the facts rather than opinions. And I want to be sure what motivates me is not anger, jealousy, or fear. Rather, equity, truth, fairness, and respect are some of the values I try to align myself with each and every day. I want to remind everyone that the county's mission statement is to provide essential public services, both legally required and locally desired, in an efficient, effective, and respectful manner. I believe it is a beautiful mission statement of why we are here. Our mission statement motivates me to provide the best possible customer service to our community and staff. We all have points of view, and I hope yours includes our mission to empower our community to have better lives, to grow and thrive with help from the services that are provided from Lincoln County government. So on to the actual reports. The first thing I want to report on is the administrator evaluation. Over the last several weeks, I've been participating in the evaluation of our first ever county administrator. Ordinance 517 established the position of the county administrator, the first ever in Lincoln County's history. It's a big deal. And I quote from the ordinance, "The county administrator shall have the specific authority to perform all day-to-day functions necessary for the administration and management of the county." I think we should exercise the utmost scrutiny and precision in evaluating the importance of this position. I think we should also cut ourselves some slack, meaning commissioners, staff, and the administrator himself, in the efforts to evaluate this position. The process has been a bit of a roller coaster from my perspective. There have been some confusing recommendations about the process. I'm still trying to work through much that has unfolded. An initial email from HR that the final evaluation be done by chair and administrator only was made. This was inconsistent with the process as I understood it described in the process and procedure for county administrator evaluation. I pushed back on that recommendation. I brought this up in a previous BOC meeting. I suggested it was unwise. I felt it would be of value to have an executive session to hear from my cohorts and understand in more detail from them. I don't think really I received a solid answer then, but eventually it appeared through email we were back on schedule and scheduled for executive session on the 18th for that evaluation. Additionally, I had yet to see the HR, okay, I'm going to highlight the point, the list of accomplishments over the past year, which was step 3 in the process and procedure for administrator evaluation. So my first question is, have either of the commissioners received the county administrator's list of accomplishments and contributions over the past year? And I also ask that that be provided to me. Additionally, as you are aware, our county council has provided backup when administrator has been out, and this has happened several times due to legitimate family issues. I think it's prudent that we receive a list of activities that council is performing in our administrator's behalf while he has been out. I think this will help develop an accurate picture of who is doing what and who should do what when the position is vacant. Note that Ordinance 517 states, when a permanent vacancy occurs in the position of county administrator, the board shall designate an acting county administrator until such time as a new county administrator is appointed. While medical absence may not rise to the level of permanent vacancy, as a practical matter, I think it's prudent to be more structured than we have been in the past. So my other question is, do you think it would be informative to have a list of functions and activities that council has done or is doing in the absence of our administrator as a staff report? Let me take a drink. Continuing. I arrived at work last Monday to discover that the administrator had been sent his combined written evaluations by all 3 commissioners in an email, basically 2 weeks in advance of the actual timeline described by our process and procedure of evaluation. In fairness to him, this was awkward and felt premature to me. The next day, HR and council recommended that we abandon the procedure of his evaluation in an executive session. Instead, we're given options for administrators' next steps in email. I asked for clarity on a number of details in that email, including if each commissioner was blind copied on the email and if the email was intended to be a poll of commissioners to reach a decision. I've yet to receive a response on several of the questions I asked to HR in regard to that email. The next question I have for you is, did all 3 of you receive an email from HR asking for a decision sent by HR with a recommendation and choices for county administrators' next steps? If so, did you also see this as a poll through the email to arrive at a decision? When I met with our administrator last week to discuss it all, he was unaware that the email was sent to all 3 commissioners, if it indeed was, and disagreed with the terms that were presented as options and next steps. They were not a reflection of his desire for continuation. At this point, I'm confused. Administrator Johnson is confused. I've spent a great deal of time preparing for an executive session to have a fair, equitable, and dynamic performance-based conversation with or without the administrator in that executive session. In my opinion, the next best step is that all of us meet to discuss the administrator's role and performance in executive session. Let's compare notes and make sure that we are on the same page about what constitutes performance. Let's be sure to evaluate both style and substance. I'm not thrilled much with our current management evaluation form. It seems to me that the form is skewed towards what we think of the performance instead of what is being performed. And I think both are important. Again, I'm not crazy with the tool we've been provided. It leaves much to be desired to me. But, I believe if you can name it, you can tame it. These are broad categories in the evaluation process when you look at the form, and I'm prepared to provide details and hope my cohorts are ready as well. I want to be hearing and identifying from you those specifics in executive session as planned. So I have another question. Do all three of you agree it would be of benefit for us to meet in executive session to discuss the administrator's performance? If not, what is the best alternative from your point of view? In the interim, I suggest that we let Administrator Johnson continue his work as he is doing for us. And I can talk with him about bringing you an exit strategy or succession plan for his remaining tenure in the coming months that allows him time to finish and or hand over the projects he's been tasked with in a manner that captures the best of what has been provided to us from him. And it allows us to create clear and reasonable expectations of him during his final tenure. It also will prepare us to be better equipped and have clear expectations for future individuals who work in the position. Okay, that's just one of my reports. Would you like to address those issues or have time to process them post-meeting?
So this is a report and they are not answering questions during a report. That would be a discussion. So
Okay,
you can finish your
okay.
reports.
Mr. Miller, are
yeah.
those questions in your written documents you're going to provide us?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah, right,
absolutely.
right.
And they're highlighted in yellow. Okay. Now I'm going to report on deflection. Okay. I had the expectation that deflection would be on today's agenda. I believe that the media and stakeholders, Sheriff, DA, Judge Bockhart, County Administrator, also thought that we'd see some form of deflection discussion on our agenda today. I asked Administrator Johnson to prepare a report for us on the 18th. He has done that. It is in draft form, however. I spoke with Administrator Johnson at length about this draft report on Friday. So why don't we see it here on discussion as an agenda item? At our Monday morning staff meeting, Commissioner Jacobson was absent. We reviewed our agenda for the coming BOC regular meeting. This is routine procedure during our staff meetings, and I asked why it wasn't on the agenda and suggested that we, quote, at least update our community and stakeholders about where we are at in the process of deflection program development, and that we place that as an agenda item under discussion. However, my interpretation of what County Counsel Ewell said was that it was an administrative decision at this time. Commissioner Hall reinforced that interpretation and that it should not be on the agenda. Now, you need to understand, I am careful to deliberate and argue in our staff meetings. The reason for that will be illustrated further here in my report in the section, Our Staff Meetings, Public Meetings. The reason that you are hearing from me about deflection in commissioner reports is that from my point of view and interpretation of the conversation that happened in our staff meeting is that Council Ewell said deflection is an administrative decision at this time. Commissioner Hall agreed with that. She is still reviewing Tim's staff report and other materials related to deflection. Okay, hold that thought. I'm going back for a minute in the timeline in my experience. The purpose of deflection from my point of view is that we get our community members who are caught in the cycle of substance abuse the treatment that can help them. I believe we have an urgency to facilitate that mission. While not all counties are creating deflection programming, I assume my fellow commissioners are committed to some sort of program to help our individuals and families. How we execute the deflection program is still in flux. I'm open to choosing a process that gets the most people through treatment as possible while maintaining the fiscal sustainability and effectiveness of the program that's created. It's a complex program, and we should all be committed to creating a robust and effective process that gives our community members the greatest chance of success while being fiscally responsible of allocating our taxpayer dollars and a sustainable program, especially if deflection is successful. This program needs to respect the individual's private healthcare information and, where possible, allow them to have a clear record and a productive life without any legal ramifications as they move forward in their lives after completing deflection. I've spent months working with the local Public Safety Coordinating Council's deflection subcommittee, and I believe what I've seen happening to be overall good work with good intentions. Commissioners had approved the grand concept paper submitted by the Sheriff's Office in alignment with the Oregon Department of Justice's framework and application process. Administrator Johnson had reviewed fiscal aspects of the program and produced a memo for its fiscal accountability, and DA requested that deflection coordinator job description be posted for hire. Several weeks ago, County Council said in an email that the deflection coordination position was on hold. In a subsequent meeting following with HR, County Council, Health and Human Services, Community Corrections, DEA, and Sheriff, Administrator, and myself, Council Yule, explicitly stated the commissioners, meaning you, decided not to use the sheriff's model for a deflection program. Question and clarification, again highlighted in yellow, where are my fellow commissioners currently positioned regarding the deflection program? What is the process and procedure as you understand it or would like it to unfold at this time? If not now, when will we continue that discussion? Okay, that's my update and report on deflection.
Can you repeat the last two questions? I think they're in writing too, but you said them kind
Yeah.
of fast.
Where are my fellow commissioners currently positioned regarding the deflection program? What is the process and procedure as you understand it or would like it to unfold at this time? If not now, when and will we continue the discussion on deflection?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your patience. My next report. Public meeting, serial meeting, exclusive decision-making, and/or administrative decision. I've reached out to the Oregon Government Ethics Commission to seek guidance and ascertain if the activity or decision that may have occurred between County Council and Board of Commissioners in regard to the deflection program constitutes a serial meeting as a violation of public records and meeting laws. They have not responded to my inquiry at this time. As stated by counsel, as she said, she had met with you and affirmed decisively, as all persons in our management meeting can attest, that you had made the decision not to proceed with the program as described by the sheriff's grant proposal and have the deflection program coordinator in the DA's office. Question, highlighted in yellow. Did you meet with county council and decide to abort the sheriff's proposed program for deflection as proposed? And if so, is this not a serial meeting? That's question A. Question B, it is not true. You did not meet and make a decision. Counsel Yule is gravely misrepresenting the content of her conversation with you. C,
Commissioner Miller, that's not what was said. And so you can quote your information, but you can't quote what was said
Okay.
between me and any other commissioner.
that's what I'm doing, and I'm just proceeding with my report as you just told me I should. Okay? With no questions.
The commissioner said to.
Okay, well, thank you, and please review the report and absolutely make your notes and discrepancies, et cetera. Okay, C, it's not a serial meeting, not prohibited from public records and meeting law, and as counsel you might attest, is an administrative decision. It is acceptable for the BOC to make certain decisions behind closed doors? If so, how do we decide what is administrative versus what is public? So my next question for you is, I respectfully ask your consensus that we ask our legal department to produce a staff report for review by the Board of Commissioners about what is administrative, what types of content, procedures, and decisions are administrative in nature and are legally excluded from the public meeting context and allowed by the BOC outside of the public meeting setting or other staff on our behalf. That's my question. What is administrative? What is not? I would love to have a report and have some guidance on that, please. In summary, if it's not a meeting law violation and something you willfully excluded me from, I would ask the three of you to consider your process regarding this decision. It feels disrespectful to me as a fellow commissioner, and I'd like you to consider that. I'll certainly let you know when OGEC reaches out to me and how we proceed with training to appropriately move forward with a better understanding and process for adhering to public records and meeting laws. Okay. That is that section, which was, to reiterate, somewhere back here. Public meeting, serial meeting, executive decision-making, and/or administrative decision. All right. Getting closer to being done. Almost. All right, the next report I have. So I'm trying to figure out if our staff meetings are public meetings or not. I want you to be aware of another situation I have sent to the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. Monday, I reached out to OGEC to seek guidance and ask them to help us ascertain if our biweekly staff meetings held prior to our regular weekly meeting is public or not. For example, this is the meeting we had Monday. Public record and media law require us to record our meetings and provide a detailed agenda. We do neither of these for our staff meetings. We do keep minutes for these meetings, and they are largely reflective of the content of our meetings, which is reviewing schedules, vacations, appointments, and the regular meeting agenda. Now, I feel these meetings are a missed opportunity to discuss in depth the important matters of the upcoming regular meeting agenda. I feel a determination from OGEC will help us commit to a more thorough and technically accurate process and allow us more confidence and breathing room to have substantive conversations that, in my opinion, are desperately needed. I want to describe some of the process which led me to this point over the years. Again, thank you for your patience. In a brief informational training given by OGEC at the Association of Counties event, I began to feel more certain we needed to address our process. Additionally, several bills that were passed by the 2023 Legislative Assembly updated public records and meeting law. I asked for our council's legal interpretation about staff meetings in writing. I can provide that email and memo. Neither legal or administrator responded to those inquiries. I turned to the only option I felt would provide an unbiased determination and reached out to OGEC. They said the following: currently, we are unable to give advice on the application of public meeting law. We will, however, be able to start offering trainings on public meeting law in 2024. We would be happy to set up a training that is customized to your board and staff. As I am in the process of developing the curriculum for the public meetings laws training, I would like to know more about your particular situation because it probably applies to other public bodies as well. Do you have time for a phone call either this week or next? Along with our public information officer, I met with an OGEC representative virtually. They were not able to provide us advice at the time, but also suggested, thank you again for making time to discuss some questions you have regarding public meeting laws. As I mentioned, House Bill 2805 provides some additional clarification around serial meetings. In 2024, OGE responded. That was late 23. I'm following up to let you know that we now have the authority to offer advice and guidance on public meetings law for future and hypothetical situations. If you would like to submit a request for advice, rather informational staff opinion or commission advisory opinion, you are welcome to send it directly to me. Thus, I have sent the inquiry for clarification about our public staff our staff meetings, public or not. Additionally, in an effort to facilitate needed conversations between staff, council, and administrator, this has happened many months ago, I initiated a regular BOC staff meeting with board chair minus the other elected officials that has been, in my opinion, a needed improvement for staff communication and coordination, but I still feel uncomfortable about our biweekly staff meeting that, in my opinion, should be better titled office meeting and board briefing. I'm happy to provide my request to OGEC with all the support materials provided to OGEC, to you, to anyone. It is a full description of our current process, approach to our current staff meetings, and even offers corrective measures should you decide to take those measures proactively to resolve the problem. So my question is, would you rather wait for a determination by OGEC in regard to this particular meeting or biweekly meeting? Would you like to request OGEC training for our staff regardless of OGEC's determination on the issue? And I'll add, we can very easily begin recording these meetings, archiving them online, providing a detailed agenda, and keeping detailed minutes, live streaming these meetings, and providing a continuous link to that meeting rather than upon request. I propose that it'd be very easily for us to do all those things quite quickly if that's something you want to do in the interim of waiting for a determination by OGEC. Okay, so that does end my reports today, but I just want you to know, I would like to see more things into the agenda, as discussion or decision and action. But whether we do that or not, you can anticipate from me future reports on me working on us and how we are board liaisons or not, defined by Ordinance 517, and that I think we need to craft a resolution in regard to that. I also think that we need to discuss the Johnson Bridge. I also think we need a resolution on the process for how items appear on our agenda. I also plan to update you on OGEC requests that I have submitted. I still think we need to discuss, or I need to at least report Ordinance 517, an evaluation on that and how that's going for us. And I'm also would like to have as a point of discussion, or at least give you my reports on what I see happening with the finance director position, the DA office positions, and the local public safety coordinating council public meeting process. Those are just things that are on the future for me. I respectfully submit this to you for public record. Casey Miller, Chair of the County Commissioners. So that is my report to you today. I've got copies for you. I've got a copy for Kathleen Kelly and Kathleen and Kenneth. I hope too that this appears back on the packet as it was submitted, as I hope all materials do that are presented in our meetings. Okay, so let's move out of reports.
Commissioner, I will just say that I will take a copy of report and we'll,
Oh,
read it. This is the
certainly.
first time I'm hearing of a lot of this, so I will, consider it thoughtfully
Understood.
and provide a
you.
response at some point.
Thank you.
Understood. One for Council Yule and one for Kenneth. And Kathleen, I'll get you a digital copy of that. Okay. Okay, so that was commissioner reports. Now we move to public comments.
Take a brief break before public comment,
Okay, we will take a recess,
maybe.
maybe 11:36. Okay. We are in recess and we'll return at 11:36. Okay. How are you doing? It's good to see you. Thanks for all your. Thank you. Yeah. I think so too. I can change this back. Right there. Yeah.
Deep breath.
Yeah.
Good job, buddy.
You didn't genuflect. Huh? You didn't genuflect. No, I don't know what that is anyway, but. Yeah. Because it's out.
I'm trying to navigate because of that. Because I almost. Actually, So the next morning, I just wanted to, I had to see a bunch of things.
He's just calling for lunch. They already finished.
Building up.
You're allowed to talk. Try to snap it.
Yeah. Not quite. I know. Come on. Yes, I love it.
Oh, thank you. I spent a lot of money.
Oh, okay, great.
I'm delicate.
Yeah.
Do that again?
Okay. So we're going to come back in session in just a moment. We're waiting for Commissioner Jacobson. We are unmuted and we are live streaming. So stand by for public input.
Do not have anyone online for public. Would
Okay.
you like to start in the room?
Yes, I would, Kenneth. Wait for Commissioner Jacobson to get seated. Okay. So we are in public input on our agenda and we'll begin with the room. So you've got the sheet.
First we have on here is Judge Cheryl Bockhart.
And Judge Lockhart, you want to make sure your button is red.
This doesn't, well, actually, it's better if I just stand here.
Very good.
Hope this isn't eating into my 3 minutes, but I'm here today because this is the only forum that I have to speak with you. I have sent you each an email. I have tried to reach out to you. I've reached out to Administrator Johnson. I have heard absolutely no response from the presiding judge in Lincoln County. I have tried to reach out to you because I want to discuss the deflection program and the work we've done on it. I've been completely ignored, not even a thank you for your email. So I'm here today, less than 24 hours after I had surgery, because this is the only way I can reach you. Each of you made campaign promises to listen to your constituents and to do what's best for our community. I'm asking you today to fulfill your campaign promises, to do what's best for the community and to listen to your constituents. For months, we've been working on a deflection program for our county. It's been collaborative, it's been cohesive. I have been humbled by the strengths in our community. When Senate Bill 4002 was implemented, I was part of that process. I testified at hearings. What they really wanted to do was give local control to the counties because in their opinion, each county is different and each county has strengths and each county should utilize those strengths in coming up with some type of deflection program that really leverages those strengths. We've done just that. Sitting together at a table, we have treatment providers, we have law enforcement, we have people in recovery, we have a defense attorney, we have the DA, we have the chair of the Board of Commissioners. As a group, we came up with a plan. And our plan included, you have to have a deflection coordinator. It made sense to put it in the DA's office. That was not at the suggestion of the district attorney. That was a collaborative consensus decision that given the role of the coordinator, that's where it should land. And what I don't think anybody understands is that if you do not have the trust and confidence of the DA and law enforcement, there is nothing to deflect somebody to. Everything starts in deflection with that. Measure 110 was a failure because law enforcement doesn't have confidence in it. They issue a person a citation. It's a $100 fine whether they show up or not. So what did law enforcement do across the state? Nobody cited for it. Nobody got cited in. We have been working for months to convince law enforcement that this deflection program will have accountability and it will also have opportunities for recovery and several off-roads. If you undermine the work of this committee, you are fracturing that trust that it has taken months to build. If you don't roll this out as agreed upon by the people actually doing the work, this program will fail. I'm not trying to be dramatic here, but the DA is going to prosecute and people are going to die. Part of being a leader is bringing people together and building trust.
That's fine. I'll allow her to continue.
No, we need to keep it consistent with public testimony.
So I'm making the decision today to allow it as the chair of the board. So thank you.
How much longer are we going? Are we gonna have?
I don't know. Let her finish.
I'm going to finish my comments and then I promise I have 2 more things I want to say and then you can cut me off. I am happy to. Lincoln County is poised to be very successful. The coordinator needs to be in the DA's office because that was a consensus of the people actually doing the work. If you turn this over to parole and probation or health and human services, I'm not disparaging those programs, but it goes against the consensus decision of the people doing the work. And just because you have the power to make that decision as a leader, when I'm a judge, if I have to rely on just my power to do something, it's the least effective. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. The linchpin of this deflection is law enforcement and the DA. If you don't have them on board, there is nothing to deflect people to. This decision has to be made by Friday, or this county is going to lose $341,000. They are not going to keep that in the piggy bank waiting out for people for another county to get their act together. It's going to be distributed to other counties who are consensus builders. If you don't make a decision and move this forward, Lincoln County loses. People will die. I'm not trying to be dramatic here, but this opportunity for recovery is something that our community needs, that we have a tremendous opportunity to leverage our strengths here. I will be respectful of my of the time, limited time I was given, because I can't get on an agenda and I can't get a response to an email. If any of you would like to discuss this further, I'm happy to do that. I would invite you to. I can answer questions that you have. I've been doing this work for over 27 years. I'm passionate about it. That's the reason I came in today.
Thank you, Judge Baccarat. Okay. Who else do we have signed up, Kenneth?
Next is Jen Metcalf.
Chair Miller, I might suggest that because we gave the judge 5 minutes, maybe we allow other people to have the same time, just to be
I would
equitable.
support that as well.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Wait, so I have to talk for 5 minutes?
No,
You do not have to, but you have 5 minutes should you want to.
Oh.
up to.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, hi, good morning or almost afternoon. First of all, I want to say thank you, Chair. I don't even know how to address you. I'm sorry. I do this every single time.
Any way you want.
Anyways, Casey, thank you for your report today, and I'm very glad that I was in this room to hear the report. I'm Jen Metcalf. I am a harm reduction coordinator for Phoenix Wellness Center. I'm also a Siletz tribal member, and I live in Siletz. I reside there. I've been on this HB 4002 deflection committee for a very long time. Well, to me, it seems like a very long time. Since April of this year, I went to the first symposium that they had in Salem and been on a work group ever since then. Have gotten some training with the technical assistance with the deflection, with national TA assistant people. There was 5 of us from Lincoln County that went over there to Portland and got some training. And we have one of the best work groups around. I mean, so many people come together, and we set the stage for a lot of people. And when we're at this technical assistance, we learned that we're ahead of the game. We talked about our processes. We did our grant. We worked together. We asked, there's no votes on. I love what the judge said about consensus decision-making, because that's what it is. And there was no stake in it for anybody except for all of us to be able to serve our community effectively so our people can get treatment. I sit at the table with experts that do outpatient treatment, and it's, I keep thinking about it going to parole and probation, and it's catastrophic to me to think that it would go to that department where it should never start there. I'm the people that we're going to be serving. I'm a recovering addict. I'm in long-term recovery over 22 years. And if there was an opportunity for me to be able to be deflected, to have an option and an opportunity to get treatment before I have to see somebody of authority, like real authority, then I would want that option. And I would hope that somebody would be fighting. Is that my time? Is that, oh.
Computer.
I can't do it.
Chime.
I can't talk no more because
That's
that thing
fine.
is intimidating me. I'm like,
Yeah.
but thank you.
Thanks.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else signed up?
Next, we have Sheriff Curtis Landers.
Okay,
Okay.
Sheriff Landers.
I wrote this for 3 minutes, so I'll talk a little slower if I'm 5 minutes. Good morning. Yes, it is still morning, Commissioners. For the record, I am Curtis Landers, Lincoln County Sheriff. I'm here to address my concerns and ask questions regarding the county's deflection program under House Bill 4002. The deflection work group, including Commissioner Miller and other partners, have been meeting since April to discuss our program. I want to say I'm disappointed that as your elected sheriff, I have to present my concerns to all three of you via a 5-minute public comment period, and that it was not placed on the agenda as requested by Commissioner Miller for an open and transparent discussion. I'm not even sure a decision has been made regarding the deflection program because I've heard conflicting information from county commissioners and from legal counsel. I am also not sure why legal counsel is even involved in this at this point. I would like to point out that she has not participated in our discussions. Moreover, I'm concerned about the lack of public discussion on this matter by the commissioners who are making decisions without input from the work group, which is critical to making an informed decision. The deflection work group, including Commissioner Miller, recommended placing the coordinator in the district attorney's office to ensure the program remains focused on deflection, diversion, and support for the participants. It is also essential for the data collection required by the bill and for following the requirements of the bill as it relates to expungements. This recommendation was based on extensive discussions and considerations about how best to support the program's goals. If you decide to place the coordinator in community corrections, it would directly contradict this recommendation and risk undermining the program's mission. Despite being informed that no final decision has been made, we still lack a clear and transparent plan from community corrections. This uncertainty makes it difficult to assess how the placement aligns with the program goals. It's disappointing that our work group has not been afforded the opportunity to discuss this publicly with you. Open dialogue and public discussion are essential for understanding the implications and making a well-informed decision. We are under a strict timeline, and delays or missteps could jeopardize the critical grant funding necessary for the deflection program. We do have to get this back by September 20th, and I'm not even sure who's doing it. We need to act swiftly to secure this funding and ensure the program's success. To meet grant requirements and maintain program integrity, the coordinator should be placed in the district attorney's office as recommended by the work group. Some questions I have: has a decision been finalized for the coordinator position? What is community corrections plan for deflection if it is your decision to place it there? Who is going to assume the responsibility of finalizing the deflection program grant, and how are you going to meet the timelines by this Friday? I urge the board to act promptly. If we don't act, this money is going back and it's going to be spread out from the other counties that are participating. I urge you to act promptly, honor the work group's recommendation, and place a coordinator in the district attorney's office and decide on the funding proposal that's been presented. You are directly risking the safety and well-being of our community members by your actions. Additionally, I request that the board engage in public discussion to ensure all relevant information is considered before making a final decision or to reconsider any decisions that have already been made. Commissioners, I'm asking you to do your job by leading and supporting those recommendations instead of hindering our progress with unnecessary roadblocks. Because I'm limited to only 5 minutes, I will be providing further information to the public. I plan to prepare a very detailed explanation, and Commissioner Miller already set the stage for that. There are details I have not been able to provide to you today. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to a quick and informed decision that supports the success of this vital program to help address a very serious situation in our county.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Next, we have Wiley Stokes.
Wiley Stokes.
Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity.
And Nicole.
I always say when I start speaking that this is not my thing. I've testified in front of the legislature before, and it was like, it was probably the worst thing I've ever done. So bear with me, please. I'm a Sluts Tribal member. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I have 16 years clean and sober right now. And I don't know how many entries I have into Lincoln County Jail. I don't really even want to know. It's a lot, though. And it probably wasn't anything less than 30 days, And I have a great relationship with law enforcement. I never didn't like them. I just was taking a different path in life, and drugs and alcohol were that path. Um, I got clean 16 years ago, and when I got clean, I found out that I'm not a criminal. I'm an addict. I don't commit crime, when I'm not using, and God forbid that's never again. I maintained my program of recovery, and so I was thrilled when I was asked to be a part of this work group. Phoenix Wellness Center, we've been providing treatment here in Lincoln County now for 5 years, and with the help of Measure 110 funding, we've been able to expand, and there are some failings with Measure 110, and when House Bill 4002 came about, I was like, yes, let's do this. Let's do this in our county. So I was thrilled when I was asked to be a part of the work group. And like Judge Bockhart said, things have been a consensus in our work group. There's no one person saying this is how it's going to be. And that's how I like to operate anyway. I like to feel like I have input, and we have some great members of that team. And maybe the most awesome part for me is working together with all of our treatment providers in this work group has been amazing. We work in silos as treatment providers, and for us and the tribe and Reconnections as treatment providers to all come together and really have an input here and work together on this has been amazing. The final destination for someone who is unsuccessful with deflection is going to be PNP. And now I could talk to you for a long time about my trauma around PNP and my trauma around the jail and prisons, and I've been there multiple times. Today things are different. Today I could still walk in there and sit down, and I know exactly what it felt like. So to think of someone being deflected and then having to come in there, it's I don't know. It just seems like the opposite route. So it made sense for us as a group for this position to be in the DA's office. It just made sense, and the expungements that will go along with that. And like I said, I have a long criminal history, but laws changed recently with expungement, so I have a less of a criminal history. I do. It's still there. Some of it's not going away right away, but it'll be there for a bit. But I do this work. Part of it is selfish because I'm a person in recovery, and I try to surround myself with recovery because that's the only way it works for me. So could I have been deflected 16 years ago? Absolutely. I am who we serve. I am who I serve as a treatment provider. I am who would benefit from this program. So
Thank you, Wiley.
thank you.
Now, Nicole, if you're going to provide input, that's okay. Are you separately going to provide input?
Sure.
Okay, so make sure to sign the form before you leave. Okay. And all right.
Nicole, would you just state your full name?
Nicole Raridan. So I would just like to talk a little bit about the boots that are on the ground. We talk about the lives that are going to be able to be saved, like the judge said. Wiley was, a lot of us in this room were addicts. This program and the teamwork and the efforts that have been put into how we can all work together finally, like this is, you guys, this is broken up that division. This has given us the opportunity to say, hey, we're a team. We are all a team. There's no more individual people. We're a team. And to see that teamwork out in our community, I am out in our community. I am in the homeless camps. I am on the streets. I am in the hospitals. I am in the schools. This deflection is going to make so much change all the way across the board. It's going to help the youth. It's going to help the youth's parents. It's going to help people understand that there are programs out here that are going to help people make changes. If we move this and don't move it quickly, we're going to lose it. And we're going to lose people in our community. People are going to die. People are dying. Every single day, people are dying. It might not be somebody that you know, but it's somebody I know. It might not be somebody I know, but it's somebody you know. It's going to affect each person in a different way. But how amazing would that be to have every person in this community that's working as a treatment provider, that's working as a resource to provide that foundation of a safety net for these people to reach out to, because the hardest thing I had to do was say I needed help. So if that barrier can be broken when law enforcement reaches them and says, hey, there's a program that can help you. There's a deflection. There's a way we can send you to get you the help you need right now. And you don't have to go to P&P. You don't have to go in front of the judge. I can promise you, I know for facts, 11 and a half years in recovery, that would have saved my life a long time ago. So I really hope that you guys can see the efforts that we've put into this. It's means a lot to me that we're able to come together as a team. We're all here as a team. I hope that we can stay a team. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nicole. Do we have anybody else?
We do. District Attorney Jenna Wallace.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. TA Wallace.
Hello, everyone. So, as the record, I think already says, my name is Jenna Wallace. I'm the current district attorney. You know, I'm not technically supposed to be the district attorney until January, but as you know, Ms. Danforth left and I was sworn in early. I was not part of the original deflection work group. Ms. Danforth sat on that, but I took over obviously when I was sworn into the role. And I will tell you that I have had such an incredible privilege being a part of that work group. I've worked in several different counties. I have never seen the type of collaboration between law enforcement, the district attorney's office, and treatment providers that I see in this county. And I was truly really excited as I went to more deflection meetings and the plan really started to expand about this program and how it will so positively impact our community, as well as honestly our criminal justice system. I was really saddened to hear when we had that meeting a couple weeks ago that Chair Miller had already mentioned, when Ms. Ewell indicated that Commissioner Hall and Commissioner Jacobson had already made the decision to place the position in parole and probation. And I know, Commissioner Hall, you're shaking your head, but that's what Counsel Ewell indicated multiple times in the meeting, was that the decision had been made. And I even asked her, have you met with each of the commissioners separately? And they've said the position is going to P&P. And she said, yes. So then to hear that later on, that isn't actually accurate, and I see you're shaking your head, that you haven't made the decision, Commissioner Hall. And I don't know about you, Commissioner Jacobson, but
I did email you about that, but go ahead. I don't want to take your time.
okay. But it was really saddened. Honestly, it wasn't that I was angry. I was hurt. Because as you know, there's been a tumultuous history between the DA's office and county commissioners in the past. I was really hoping for a fresh start. I still hope that there's a fresh start. I hope that there's room to move from this. But to hear that Commissioner Hall and Commissioner Jacobson did not think the entire program would be successful if a position was placed in my office was really hurtful to hear. And that's what Counsel Ewell represented at that meeting on your behalf. And what I'm here today to ask is to trust the work group and the work that we've put in and the meetings that we've had and the plans that we've had. Trust that the community partners who have kind of banded together to see this program successful, trust that what we've done is going to be successful. And I know you might not trust me, and it may take time for you to trust me. And I probably wasn't your pick to be in this position, and I'm sorry about that. But I'm asking you to give me a chance. Give my office a chance and give this program a chance to succeed. I know it can succeed. I think our entire work group knows it can succeed. And I know it can succeed in my office. I know that. And if it's not, then change it down the road. If for some reason I fail or the program fails, then maybe we sit back together and we think of a plan B. But we have a plan A right now. We are ready to implement this as soon as the Board of Commissioners approves the coordinator position in my office. We are ready to go. And this will save lives. So I'm asking you to put a little faith in me, in my office, and in this program, and allow us to show you that this will be successful, because we all have the heart and passion to make this successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Do we have anyone else signed? We do not. Does anyone else want to address the board at this time during public input? No. Okay, let's look online one more time and make sure.
There's no one online.
Okay. Now let's go to written public input. Can you scroll what we've got online, Kenneth?
We have 3 items of public input online. It's a letter from Judge Bockhart. It's a letter regarding the Johnson Creek Bridge in Otis. And then we have a letter from Rick Beasley.
Okay. All right. Look at our agenda. No, we're close to the end. No executive session. Commissioners, any thoughts or comments before we close out?
I guess one thing I do think kind of is lingering that maybe needs to be addressed, maybe a special session Friday, I don't know, is this comment that we do need to get back to the state about this. I think I had asked Curtis Landers last time I spoke to you to see if there was a extension of time to the 20th. Okay, all right.
Well, to that point, I would like to meet with district attorney and sheriff immediately today to address the mechanics of what needs to be submitted and understand. I did not realize that there was a Friday deadline. I'd like to understand that and understand what needs to be done. And I also want to state that absolutely, I will do whatever is needed if we need to ramp up a public meeting on Friday to get that done. That's fine with me, but I need to understand. So if we could arrange a time ASAP to get together today, so I can move forward. Also, Administrator Johnson isn't here, so
Yeah, I was going to ask, do we know when Administrator Johnson is he out
I
this
don't
whole
believe
week?
he's
Or?
back till Monday.
it's supposed to be
Okay.
back next week.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, let's get together after the meeting and make that time. Okay.
Ms. Yule, how long would we need to publicly notice 24
24
hours of
hours?
special session?
Yeah.
Special meetings are
If we have
24.
to.
All right. So that would mean like if we're due it Friday by like tomorrow, we would need a notice. Yeah.
Correct.
All right.
Anything else, Commissioner Jacobson?
That's it for now. Thank you.
No? Okay. All right, please be advised that our next meeting is September 30th. That's the staff meeting at 10 a.m. Following commissioner meeting, regular commissioner meeting is scheduled for October 2nd. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time. With that, we are adjourned.